Everything died. The end. Just kidding. Not everything died, just most things. I'm going to assume you want context, so I'm going to give you it. Giant space laser, as you can see from this thing up on screen right now. Giant space laser. Technically, it's a gamma ray burst that directly impacted the moon of Samsara 3, destroying the burgeoning ozone layer and giving most of the living species, who are already pretty cancer resistant from evolving in a highly radioactive environment, several dozen times the lethal dose of ionizing radiation, causing giant tumors in a majority of organisms, killing most of them. A space laser gave everyone cancer. Now there's an idea for a dystopian setting. You're welcome. This may not be the exciting, upbeat, alien-tastic episode that some might have believed were coming, and it most definitely isn't. But mass extinctions are an important part of evolutionary history. I felt that they were all getting a bit too comfy, so they died. But not all of them, which I'll get to now. Or rather, I'll talk about what did die. I couldn't name all of these in a small amount of time if I tried. Just pause the video and look if you want to. To summarize, most aquatic things are extinct, all land things are extinct, all sky things are extinct. There are only a few survivors, most of which have been redesigned because they were from the first few episodes, and my art style back then was even more terrible than it is now, if that's possible. The things that survived are as such: Sealphila, Chalophydae, Negropyces, Xenogarrida, and Thalassatitan. The largest creature to live on the planet so far surviving the mass extinction may be weird, but its food supply, mainly consisting of photosynthetic and radiosynthetic plankton, boomed right after the extinction event. It also might help that large animals, on Earth at least, seem to be somewhat resistant to cancer, and compounding the already high cancer resistance of something that lives in a planet with a bunch of radon, that it's pretty cancer resistant. Now, don't get me wrong, many thalassotitans did die, which resulted in low genetic diversity, but they're not extinct yet. And because of the large amount of biomass, the now vacant apex predator niche has a chance to be filled, and it is. To recap you on the other surviving species, Negropyces, which the name means hunting fish, is a small predatory organism that has been thriving in the Samsaran oceans for hundreds of millions of years. There have been several successful offshoots, primarily the Xenocarchariforms, large bulky apex predators that, while not being that specialized for their niche, were successful due to a lack of competition. They are now extinct. Another surviving species is Xenogarrida, the alien shrimp, also with a redesign. It is one of the two direct offshoots of Eozoa, the first complex multicellular animal covered in this series, and the first successful animal on Samsara 3 in general. Xenogarrida has no jaws, has very simple eyes, and is generally poorly proportioned, but they survive because they reproduce in mass numbers, sometimes tens of thousands in one clutch. Ancestors of the diverse Panoplogarridans, containing clades as diverse as the sessile Coryphagians and the flying Exolaptorans, this basic body plan can be fairly obviously be adapted in many ways. The final surviving species is Thalassatitan, the largest creature to yet exist on Samsara 3. It's a big boy. It has extremely large mouth to maximize food intake, and is the most recent of the surviving species, coming about only 20 to 30 million years ago at this point. It has not yet gone through extreme speciation, as it has been fine in the niche it is currently in. As some would say, A hippo is fine sitting on the shore not being a whale. Now we get to the next wave of Samsaran adaptive radiation. A descendant of Nigopyces, Pugiodonta, the one with teeth of daggers, is an apex predator with a size and hunting method comparable to today's large sharks. The pincers on the cephalothorax have elongated into long knife-like appendages, which, when used properly, can take down even the biggest of prey with relative ease. This clade, like sharks, is a very effective body plan for their niche, so don't expect much successful variation in the future. And of course, for the big prey, there is the small prey. Therapoda is another more basal offshoot of Nigopyces that has adapted to be a small filter feeder, straying zooplankton and phytoplankton alike from the water with their long feeding arms. Their front pair of limbs has a sort of primitive elbow, which increases the oh-so-vital maneuverability of this slow, almost defenseless creature. How they evolved in the first place, I am not sure. The long fin on their back is to help with stability, though isn't that useful because of the lack of support. Possibly the strangest descendant of Nigopyces so far is Cuparachus, a long, thin, worm-like creature comparable to Cambrian Earth's Pikaia, as in it's a long, feather-looking worm thing with many small legs. I could go off on a whole rant about the planned descendants of this genus, but I won't. I will, however, explain its physiology. The fins have moved to the back and atrophied to prevent drag, and the long paddle-like tail, from which it gets its name, has broadened to increase the area providing motion. The oral tentacles on the front are derived from the pincers of its ancestors, but have lost the pointiness, now being used primarily to transfer food into the mouth. These evolutionary changes are drastic, but not unfounded. With the evolution of newer, better predators, Cuparachus has taken the route of being a small, nimble, maneuverable detritivore, eating both plants and scavenging on dead animals. It works. That's all I'm gonna say. It's weird, but it works. The last creature covered in this video will be Tentaclopoda. It's a small filter-feeding organism that is buoyant enough that it can float along the top of the water, catching plankton with long filaments on the end of its legs. After catching a significant amount of food, it puts its tentacles in its mouth and sucks out the stuff. Wow. I really should have said that out loud before recording, because that does not sound good. I apologize. If it isn't apparent, it's a direct descendant of Xenogarrida. I have no more species to cover in today's video, but I still have at least another minute and a half or so of content, so stick around if you want to. I created a full timeline of Samsara 3's tectonic activity. It starts at the initial wave of terrestrialization by the now extinct Daphopods and the terrestrial agnathids, and goes until 410 million years after that. Currently, we're sitting around 100 million years post-terrestrialization, so we have a total of 300 million years to go before I either have to continue this animation and start a new one, or retire the series. Most likely the first option. If you want to make something similar, I used a free software called Gplates, and it's kind of complicated, so I've linked a tutorial in the description. I will now shut up and let you actually watch it. Honestly, I am really excited for what's to come. If you are as well, I'd suggest subscribing, joining the Discord server, and turning on notifications so you are alerted whenever a new video from me comes out. After saying that, I bid thee farewell. In other words, bye.